Hi, I'd like to invite you to take a few minutes to discover a little bit about the human soul. The primary way that I'm going to show you this is by examining the mirror of the soul, the iris. The iris of the eye has these different forms and composites. That is, the shape of the individual fibers in the eyes and the patterns that exist there. They give us clues about how the person processes life and feels and expresses their own creativity, imagination, and feelings. These four across the top, they represent extremes. That if you take maybe 1,000 or 10,000 different irises, these are somewhat of the extremes that you would see. So these are like the four corners of different iris composition types. And what is the composition really about? If you look at this structure here, you see the brown dot is one type. You see these open fibered webs here. Different forms. These are ranges. These ones down below it, the brown dots, a little bit less than the different composite. The density of the fiber arrangement here, and this one is softer but similar in some degree. This has extremes of brown dot types here, and also the emotional patterns. This is extremes of opposites. This is another degree of this particular type. If we examine thousands of different irises of many different people, and we begin to compare that to how they respond to life, or what their natural desire is, there are characteristic forms in each one of these. Now, the basic reality is each one of these four types, they also correspond to body systems, feelings, glands, organs. They all have characteristic behavioral difficulties or characteristic physical symptoms, and they have basic personality attributes when something goes wrong. For example, this type here is what's called the dynamic, or the changeable, or the ecstatic, or the aggressive. When things get out of balance for them, they can become pushy and reactive and angry and arrogant. They want things done only their way. Then, the one next to them, well, you can see the fiber arrangement is basically more dense. This constitutional type, they like security. They like things together. They like culture and tradition, and they like things that are like history and archaeology and being together as a group. We should decide everything together. Now, when they get out of balance, they get excessively controlling or possessive or neurotic. They have their own ways of wanting their own security by having people around them, and they have a tendency to limit other people's freedom. This one type here, well, the brown dot type, they have a tendency to be intellectually driven. When they're out of balance, they become verbally, sarcastic or ridiculing or impatient verbally, or they can become attacking in some other forms of manipulation or cunning, guile type of things. When this one's out of balance, they get excessively analytical, and their monkey mind goes a little crazy as it wants to control the world around them by explaining the details of something. The emotional type, well, generally speaking, they have a tendency to like to be left alone the most. But sometimes when they're left alone too long, they become emotionally reactive or dependent or manipulative. They become emotional to get attention, or they withdraw so far into themselves, it's not easy to come out. So sometimes this can also be a line of social isolation or mental isolation. This can be a place of depression. Now, each one of these types, if you take away the negative attributes that we're so familiar with, you'll find that each one of these has a characteristic quality that we really like. When they're really on a roll and they're in the zone, these four constitutional types, they represent something very, very positive. These positive attributes are the positive qualities or characteristics of that particular type of soul. There are different types of souls that have different natural abilities. This one here, their positive quality is like a radiance or an enthusiasm, a joy. They have a drive. They have a passion for living. They have a prosperity of not only wealth, but they have a prosperity of friendship and fraternal feelings toward others. They are a goal achievement. They like to move. They like to run, go. Well, they're exalted in their own natural form. This one here has, well, a sense of integrity, a sense of unity, or a sense of belonging. They're nurturing and caring and serving and giving. They have a high tactile quality. When they're really in a healthy place, they nurture and touch people. They give people what they need. They also bring harmony and balance to a social or emotional situation. They're a deep sense of something that's called firmness or wisdom. It's a very beautiful attribute to have. This one here, when they're in their clearest place, it's awareness or alertness or discovery. They have a natural drive toward wanting to know, to realize, to understand, for a desire to become aware of something higher. They're seekers of something. This is an attribute that goes beyond the experience of analysis, that goes into the discovery of the knowing of something. This quality here is the quality of silence, of grace, of peace. This is a quality of being able to open, allow, feel, and yet give complete and total freedom. This freedom that they give is a rare level of providing space for people. They provide the opportunity for people to grow in their own way. So each one of these four different constitutional types, they're qualities within myself that I want to learn to develop. Because the reality is all of us have all of these four different extremes, but we have a tendency to interrupt or to deny these qualities. Or we have a tendency to act like one of them to avoid pain somewhere else. This is a common human experience. We build a facade of one type or the other because we don't want to deal with the unresolved feelings that we have within us. So by being able to look at the constitution of the eye, you get some clues about what their natural attributes really can be, but you also get some clues about how they're responding to life when they're out of balance. Later on I'll show you how to be able to see the extremes of this and what it represents in the family, how these patterns are acquired in epigenetic molecules that create triggering mechanisms for social emotional difficulties or diseases. Each one of these different constitutional types, they have a wide range of responses to everything. But sooner or later, I want to learn how to be able to do this one to its nth degree, to realize what there is within myself and my own family, that I cut off or deny this part of me. I want to be able to use this other part of my ability to be aware. I want to increase that awareness and use that to discover higher and higher things forever. This one here, this is the integrity of being within my own being, whatever that might be. This is a sense of morality. This is a sense of justice. I want to be able to do this and have a stability in the world, to be part of a community. Also want to have an influence to create changes in the world around me, and even on a global level. From being alone to being global, from being aware within the mind to having the capacity to be part of a community. This is the way I look at the structure of the eye. I like to appreciate the natural existing qualities, identify it, and then begin to look at the reasons why they're not occupying that position. This is a continuing introduction into the study of the iris. Enjoy what you can. Go to the mirror. Take a look at yourself. Have a good day.